Welcome to The Rest is Lean, a podcast for lean people, wherever you are in the world, generally in manufacturing, that hasn't got to be, works in finance, hospitals, anywhere you like. With me, Russell Watkins, my good friends, John D. Say hello, John.
Hello.
And my other good friend, Alan Lodian.
Hello, everyone.
And we will be kicking around, as ever, lean informally, where we open the kimono, talk about our mistakes, our thoughts, and how to practically get your hands and brain around this lean malarkey. As a starter for 10 then, we've had some questions on the YouTube channel. So, Alan, across to you. You've got our correspondent.
I have indeed, my friend. I have indeed. And it's from a gentleman called Simon Danks, who I believe some of us may have known the name. Hello, Simon.
Simon, hello.
So it says, to the TRIL trio, not necessarily Team TRIL, but the TRIL trio. I've been enjoying your podcast over the last few months. I've just listened to the 2 conversations on 5S and really enjoyed it. Do you remember?
That was, yeah.
I think that was your skip dipping one, wasn't it, John? If I remember, one of
Skip
those.
dipping, skip diving, skip
Skip diving. Oh, no,
skip dipping's different.
No, that's what I do. Skip dipping. Having just launched our 5C, as he calls it, or 5S program in the cathedral, it would be interesting to see what learning I get from you guys in such a different environment. Do you know of any museums or heritage sites that are doing any of this good stuff? Keep it up. It's good to get some input now and then. Now I'm out of traditional lean sectors.
What a wonderful question, because it opens up the door for us to say lean works anywhere, where there are customers, where there is a process of some kind to deliver value. There's going to be waste and interface waste and stuff that stops the gold flowing. The first question I have is, who is the customer of a cathedral? Is it the flock? Is it the local community?
Yeah, the parish, the community.
Is it tourists?
I would have said.
So would it be the users of it, whether they use it for spiritual, religious purposes, or whether they use it as a sightseeing, tourism thing? Are we thinking that they are the customer base, really?
Yeah, because you're thinking the point of view of how do you create the value if you don't know who your customer base is? Think of that.
Yeah,
I've got to have the voice of the customer to improve how you take the product, which is where it gets our juices going, from what it is to something better, or to supply them their product better quality, quicker, easier, more fulfilling ways. It's a really interesting one. I think if we're not careful, I would suggest we get tied up with, it's such a left field example. Thanks very much for this, Simon. But I guess my first instinct would be to say it's probably, well, it's not like a manufacturing organization that you want as your model. It's closer to a transactional model, would be my first instinct. It might be about looking at the processes that go into maintenance, upkeep, documenting, keeping safe, keeping records, etc., around the cathedral and artifacts and all that sort of thing. It might even, because I know nothing about that world, it may be closer to what happens with a museum in terms of value of artifacts and trading in and insuring and sharing. So it might be closer to a banking model that we want to use. Well, the other thing that pops into my mind, bizarrely, and it's just happening right now, is it closer to a club thing? I'm thinking of the community. So, for instance, I'm a member of a club. I'm a member of a lot of clubs. One of them is the Caravan and Motorhome Club, which is a huge, and it's a business. It really is a business, but it's a club. The product is hard to see. They're not manufacturing anything. They're providing a venue for people to go worship at the altar of the barbecue, if we want to try and make connections. And I think what's triggered that in my head is I was reading the minutes of meetings and stuff from them, because I'm really sad. recently.
Blimey.
I know. They send them out, don't you? You're a member of a club. They don't expect people to read them. And one of the things that's really interesting for me is on these sites, they used to have lots and lots of areas where you go and deposit as a customer, a user, your waste in all the segregated bins. It's one of the things you're paying for, and why you would use this site. However, in the interest of lean, and they actually use the term, saving cost, energy, waste of motion, they've taken all of these various collection areas from almost all of their sites and moved them to the main entrance.
Right.
So what's happened is they have reduced the cost of disposal of the waste, the waste of collecting it all and segregating it, the comings and goings of lorries on site, but the effort for the users has
It's gone
gone
up.
up.
Yeah.
And that just made me think about lean. It was
But
recently, and I'm
But
thinking,
John, that takes us to the right point, and the right point is it's a shame Simon isn't here, because if Simon was here, we could ask what I consider to be the important clarifying question, which is, what is the problem you're trying to solve here by deploying 5C in a cathedral?
yeah,
Because the problem could be, feasibly, it could be you want to help the scarce number of employees and volunteers we have to do the work easier,
yeah,
to maintain the cathedral and look after visitors. Or it could be we want to improve the flow of people through the cathedral to still enjoy their tourism experience, but increase our numbers to increase funding so that we can replace the holes in the lead in the roof. Those are two different things. Or we may want to try and reduce the maintenance burden and improve the maintenance. So again, it comes back to what problem are you trying to solve?
And that maintenance burden in my head has got two channels. The cost of maintaining it, you could certainly think of lean angles to take that. But the damage that is caused to the fabric of the building and the artifacts by letting the public in, maybe 5S could change that to
Yeah.
minimize the wear and tear or risks to things. Yeah, it's a really, really interesting question. It all harks back to, what are you trying to fix?
But I liked your point a second ago. We'll cast across to Al, because you haven't given an opinion yet on this yet, Al. But I like your point a minute ago of be careful of unintended consequences. If you're forcing a barbecuing caravaner to walk 100 yards to put something in a bin, chances are they ain't going to do it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So go on now.
Funny. I was just thinking about your earlier statement in terms of understanding where the value is going to come from. I was basing mine on the assumption that it'd be the parish. All right. And you also mentioned about the customer experience. If you want to grow a customer base, you want to increase the number of people coming into your cathedral, your church, or whatever. And you're also going to have a different, you're going to have variations in demand as well, aren't you? So Sunday is going to be far busier than, say, middle of the week. Okay. So you might have your general visitors through the week, maybe. And obviously your shall we say, your hardcore parish visitors at the weekend. So maybe there's elements of how do you manage the variation in flow of the people coming into the church, use of visual management to help not only when you're walking into the building, but normally churches or cathedrals have huge grounds around them. So how best to get from when you've parked your car or you've walked in to your seat. Can you use different elements of visual management, the layout of the cathedral and the pews and things like that. 5S, there'll be lots of inventory that you're going to have to manage. The Bibles, your vestments, candles, all those sorts of things. How can you use workplace organisations to organise them and use elements of visual management to help make sure they're maintained correctly, you don't run out. The last thing you want is not enough hymn books for the number of people who are coming to see sermons. I was then thinking standardised work. So, for example, is there a standard approach that you can follow if the current priest, vicar or bishop is not available and there's a stand-in? Is there something you can leave them that will help them step into your shoes more easily if they've got to cover you? That sort of thing. And then you mentioned, John, about obviously the ongoing refurbishment and
Mm.
modernisation of churches and cathedrals. So obviously there's a construction element to that and repair. So yeah, okay, 5S, foundation for TPM and that sort of stuff. But also I was thinking maybe things like value stream mapping or process mapping to help plan those projects, because effectively they're a project, aren't they? Third project, and how the clergy can support the contractors who are going in to do those refurbishment contracts so they can turn it round obviously more quickly than they would like, because the quicker they get it up and running, the better it is to start getting the parish back in and doing what they enjoy most.
My judgment on this might be coloured by the fact that I live in Lincolnshire, so the only cathedral that I ever see is a humongous one, Lincoln, and I was brought up in Lichfield, which is again got a humongous cathedral, very famous, and both of them would be as much as places of worship, equally the tourism side, but then they're venues. You know, there are art installations, performances, booking of tickets, all that sort of thing. So again, now I'm going, cathedrals are the rich vein for us to go and apply all of our lean thinking in terms of transactional process mapping, how you get a ticket in a seat.
But gents, here's
we're coming your way, Simon.
Here's the rub here. We have to be careful because, Al, you've mentioned perfectly legitimately 10 or 11, 12 different applications. John, you've added two or three more. I'm going to play devil's advocate now. Just because we get excited, are we shouting up solutions looking for a problem? We are shouting up possibilities without knowing. Now, listen. I got to be careful here. There is a time and a place. There is a real benefit sometimes to opening people's eyes to the possibilities because it gets them excited, gets their juices going. But are we saying to our community, to our 6.5 listeners plus a small dog, are we saying to them, what you need to do if you go somewhere is look at all the possible tools that you could apply here and see which are interesting to you?
Yes, because it's exciting.
It is exciting, but does it? But
it doesn't answer the question: what are we trying to do? What are we trying to fix? What's the biggest issue? Which is probably our knockback question to Simon, and maybe there's a great part two to us answering this, following another message from Simon, where maybe he shares perceived or measured. What's the biggest challenges? What's the biggest barriers to maintaining, looking after that building? You know, if you look at the cost, where is it going? If you look at the damage, where's it coming from? If you look at, there's so many angles, and I certainly am not equipped to imagine them all. But yeah, and guidance on something tangible that if it was improved, things would be better.
Yeah.
Then we could come at it from the direction of, yes, 5S, yes, applied in this way, might move that needle.
Yeah. Well, according to his question, he's just launched a 5C, as he's called it, which you and I both know from our IFA.
Workplace organisation.
Workplace organisation. Okay. So he started the programme. All right. His actual line question was, do you know of any museums or heritage sites that are doing this sort of good stuff?
No.
So
move on.
I do. So back in my JCB days, when I was trying a diffusion model as the central lean queen, one of the people who I managed to bring on as a lean coordinator was a very smart young engineer called Laura Cotter. And what I'll do is, and Laura is a research and innovation manager at York Minster Fund, as well as being a lean specialist and consultant. So Simon, I'll I'll make a note to get Laura's number across to you, because she often posts things about some of the renovation refurb work they've been doing at York Minster, and she is a good lean person as well.
And I do know that somewhere I'd be able to dig out the contact details for a guy who used to work for me as a sort of lean agent, if you like, back in the Webasto days. I'm pretty sure he's looking after English heritage these days. And because of his background years ago with me, I'm making a huge assumption here that he may be applying that sort of stuff within that organisation. So yeah,
Great.
maybe we dig around and come back to you, Simon, with a couple of links to further open your network.
You mentioned 5C and 5S. I'd welcome your thought. Do you mind if I ask you guys a question? I welcome your thoughts and your input, because I've got a view, but I'm keen to understand your view. When you go into clients, do you always profess 5S or 5C? And what I mean is, if you feel that's relevant,
Yeah.
will you always call it 5C or 5S? I suppose let me clarify that. What I mean is, would you ever use the terminology 6S, or dare I say it, have you heard of 7S?
Oh my God.
And what are
I
your thoughts on the topic?
would always, the first words out my mouth would be workplace organisation,
Okay.
because that for me is the name of the topic. If I'm trying to get understanding, I would always deploy the word 5S next, because I think it is the term that more people have heard about, previously been taught, or they've read about than any of the others. When it comes to training people in the subject, I allude to there are steps. And I'm going to share with you the steps, and we're going to work out the best way to use those steps. And yes, I will always tell them what the S words are, but I would revert to 5C to describe them, which I think is quite telling. So,
Yeah.
how do you describe the words in S's? I would use the words in C's.
Yeah.
Probably
And
says they're better.
what's your take on organisations that use 6S and 7S?
I take it you're going for safety for your sixth generally.
Yeah.
If that helps and works for them, I don't have a problem with it. For me, it's just, I could tack that on to the 7 wastes
Yeah.
and call it
It's
8.
it's
A
somebody
waste of
selling a book.
safety.
It
Waste
is
of fingers.
Al, years ago there was a, what's it called, the Twilight Zone episode, where a fella wakes up and realizes that the rest of the world is speaking a different language to him. It's still English. It's in Midtown America, but what he calls coffee, someone calls kangaroo. And it's him trying to fight his way through this world. Has slowly the entire language changes, because it is purely random chance, the fact that the words we have today are the words we have today. You look at the words we use. There are languages are mixed. Bungalow is an Indian word, Bangladeshi word, I think. There are all sorts of words that mix. So I think we need to leave our egos at the door. My personal view is that I think people who are adding S's to things, sometimes they are trying to release books like Get Washboard Abs in 21 days, and then somebody says 19 days and releases a book, and then somebody releases one in 17 days.
I'll raise you one.
1.5 second lean.
Yeah.
However, yes. However, we have to be careful here. We have a duty of care here. So this is relevant for me at the moment. I'm working in a new client who have done some work with 2-second lean, and they've realized that they need some help on the bigger stuff. They're making good progress on a bit of Gamba power. They're getting it going. They need a bit of help. They have already embedded in their business, and they are training throughout 8 wastes and 3S, because 2-second lean doesn't use 5S. They have, rather than having the 5S's, they have sort, sweep, standardized. Now, I said to them very early on, I will migrate my approach and material to match their words, because the worst thing we can do is muddy the water.
Yeah.
So if they're using a certain approach, I won't muddy the water. So I've done last week I did a 5S blitz with them, except I used the words 3S and I combined the stages and put a couple under sort and a couple under standardize and one under sweep, and just drew the parallel for them and said, look, the rest of the world knows this as 5S. I'm telling you that because it's useful to know so you can recognize it. But here's how it ties into your 3S's. And from this point forward, we're going to call it 3S because that's a language you're used to.
Yeah.
So can I ask you a question then? Because you've explained it to them, so it's their organisation, or the organisation is already using a derivative of 5S.
Yeah,
they're calling it 3S. So why is it on you to share with them the derivative? Why is the business who are deploying 3S not already shared that, or were they not doing that in the first place? Were they missing the point of 5S by calling it 3S or not?
Oh, so they got so far. But you can only get so far from YouTube videos. Sometimes you need somebody on the ground to push a bit deeper and to really demonstrate what we're trying to get to. So they just wanted some help to embed the real practical way of doing it deeper. So I took it upon myself to link it back to 5S because I wanted to show them where it came from without labouring the point. So that if they do go searching outside of the business for more information, they'll be able to reconcile in their heads. Oh, we do 3S. And that's a bit like 5S, so that's still relevant information for me.
Yeah. I suppose back to your point earlier on, is I presumed you asked the question, well, why are you deploying this 3S malarkey? What is it you are trying to achieve?
No, because I walked around the shop and they give me a background walk, and I could see what they were trying to achieve. I'm not asked why they're choosing certain words. I'm asked that they understand what's behind those words.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. I will say the same thing.
Right.
Respect.
Yeah.
Results.
There's a degree to which any consultancy help that any of us do is also training, isn't there? And it would be remiss to teach somebody and improve their knowledge of 3S without mentioning PS. If you go outside these doors and you start rambling about your 3S's, somebody's going to take the P and say, you've only been taught 3 of them. 5 here, mate. That's the duty you owe to these guys to just share in the rest of the world.
Yeah.
This is probably the most common. Yours is just as valid as theirs.
Yeah.
Somebody wrote down these words once upon a time. They didn't exist till they did. And guess what? They were in Japanese anyway, so they didn't look anything like these. So yours is just as good.
Was it you that created that matrix, John?
Sorry?
In the dark and distant past when we were all together.
Yeah.
I seem to remember there was a matrix that somebody drew up. And it basically had the 5C that we were originally taught.
Yeah.
A typical 5S words.
Yeah.
And then it had basically a whole plethora of different organizations
that
deployed 5S, but their specific S words were subtly different.
But it does speak to something important here, and that's that people like us, our industry, which is lean consultants like us, we have a common character flaw if we're not careful, and that's a not invented here thing.
Yeah.
As in, someone's been here before. Everything they did was rubbish. Everything I'm going to show you is mint.
It's mint, exactly.
And because it's my flavour, and because I'm one degree of separation from Honda, Jamasta, or Toyota Jamasta, then forget everything else. A surprising amount of that goes on, especially when people are trying to sell consultancy days to a consultancy system that they want to cut and paste, deploy places. And I remember all too well a fairly unpalatable standoff as a callow youth between a Nissan Japanese master and a Toyota Japanese master, where they had a stand-up argument about PDCA versus CAPDo. And it's like watching your parents argue about should you put the tea in first, should you put the milk in first, or the milk in after you've made the tea,
or cream and jam on a scone.
Yeah, and it was like, this is purely about ego, and there are legions of stories out there about dueling sensei. So a lot of this comes back to shedding ego. You know,
I always want
we have to make friends with reality
about CAPDo and PDCA. I just put a slide up on the screen, and because you could see it from a different angle, and they just say, that angle.
I remember
Tilt
sitting
your
in one of
head,
the rooms,
tilt your
John,
head
when
to
we
the
were doing
right.
it.
It's exactly the same stuff. But
It is, but I'm now gonna after Alan's spoken, I'm now going to completely undo everything I just said. Go on, Al.
Undo it. No, it's funny. I got to say because I remember well, in our way back in the day, very much remember that conversation when I first heard CAPDo, and I think that was I was with you in the room, John,
yeah, probably were.
Georgia Master.
We were
And do
probably
you know
both
what?
going.
But the way I look at it, it's just a way to, but it's a way to reflect on look at things differently. At the end of the day, does it help you achieve what you're trying to achieve? If it does, then go for it. And I agree with you. Go back to your point earlier on, Russ. You know, with the company that are doing 3S, if it's achieving what you wanted to do and the base principles, I think it would be remiss of us if we didn't share with them outside of those four walls. This is what the norm might be.
Yeah.
But just as an appreciation rather than trying to force the issue on them and say, well, stop what you're doing and do it like this. Yeah, I think that, do you know what I mean? And the reason why I put that, we've talked a lot about you've gone down the way of 3S, and obviously there's a conversation around 4S. Okay. But I mentioned 6 and 7. All right. And quite rightly so. So, John, you mentioned 6, what is the 6th safety, for example. And now, generally, when I've seen organizations deploy 6S, it is it's the safety word.
Yeah.
All right. Have any of you seen 7S?
No.
Right, because I've just seen it recently. That was part of the reason why I brought it up. And it's a very, very well-known organisation. All right, and I will
Doesn't make it right, Al.
No, it does. No. Didn't say it did. And I sort of got the drift. And again, okay, if it's a means to an end, fair enough. But their stance on this is obviously in the world of cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Okay. They've decided to use 7S, and the 7th S being security from a cyber perspective. Now, my personal take on this, and it comes back to how we were taught, is at the end of the day, and you hit the nail on the head earlier, John, is we were taught 5S or 5C is because they are steps in the dance to help us understand the means to help us achieve something. Okay, that's the way I've taken it, right? And the purpose of 5S, as I always remembered, is to try and create the safest, best environments to provide sustainable QCD, quality, cost and delivery. All right. So that's what we're trying to achieve. And there's your 5 steps. And you can call it Janet and John, Jack and Jill, whatever you want. But as long as what you're doing against those steps is trying to achieve the purpose, then I'm with you all the way.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't mind what you call it. Again, back to Russell, if you call it kangaroo, although kangaroo is a K, not a C, or whatever, you know,
well,
I don't mind.
That's the point, Al. All these words. It could have been chicken. The word radio could be the word chicken in
exactly
in the
right.
parallel universe.
If it's achieving what it's all about and what it was created for in the first place, I'm with you all the way. But have an appreciation that other people may call it something slightly different. They may call it kangaroo or chicken. Yeah. All right. But the bit that does make me squirm a little bit is actually adding more just adds more complexity.
It does. That's the point, Al. Less is more.
Exactly.
You want people to be able to recall it so they can they've got a mental skeleton to hang their knowledge on to be able to do it.
Or an anchor. Yeah, that's right. I use it. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly.
And 7 things is harder to remember than 5. And you can make an argument that Toyota's 4S, where Shitsuki self-discipline comes as a result of doing the first 4, that's even better.
Yeah, exactly. It's the norm.
The general argument against having a 6S of safety is that if you do it right, it's inherent within all the others. We ought to point that out. It is intrinsic to them. So we'll move on to phrase of the week then. And this, I thought about this a while ago. This is a great book. It's about the All Blacks, called Legacy by James Kerr.
No, not seen that.
And it's about how the All Blacks created a top-notch culture, and they have lessons in Maori, which I'm not going to pronounce because I'll massacre it, but also in English. So there are statements like, there's a when poked with a stick, the tuatara will emerge, the spider will emerge, a problem is solved by continuing to find solutions, all that kind of thing. But the one I like is join those who can join the sections of a canoe, which means look for a leader who can bring people together. And maybe it comes back to our earlier point of red flags, or the polar opposite of red flags. Should we be looking to work with leaders who don't necessarily have them? They might not be the smartest. The business might be carnage, but if they want to bring people together, if they want to join the sections of the canoe, is that a major green flag for us to go and work with them?
Yes, 100%. It brings me back to the thought we discussed previously about who do you pick to be the mini Russell within the business? Do you pick on the person with the best lean knowledge? Do you pick the best presenter? Do you say the person who's saved the most money? Or do you pick the person with the personality where A, they're quite excited about the subject, B, people like to listen to them and are prepared to follow them through trust and respect? That person can be shown
Yeah.
anything and share it and make it happen. The guy who knows everything, but nobody likes him, nobody trusts him, nobody so, etc., etc. That's
Yeah.
hard to fix.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy who can bring things together, or girl.
Agreed. So we'll draw it to a close there, gents. Thank you very much for your time as ever. And I'll cast across to I think probably Alan for the email address, which I can never remember.
The proper one is therestislean@gmail.com.
So, gents, thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Yep.
See you all, folks. Bye.
See you guys. Be good. Be
Cheers.
safe.